So, once again, welcome to the Unshakable Foundation meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Judy from New York, who's come to share for around 40 minutes, and after which we will open up for the Q&A portion of the meeting. So, Judy, it's over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Judy, and I am a grateful, recovered alcoholic and drug addict and a lot of other things, probably. I'm grateful to be here. I'm actually from New Jersey, although my home group is New York because my home group is BYOC, and they're based out of New Rochelle, New York, and I found them during the pandemic. They're an AA group, and they were taking people through this big book. I think you guys are probably familiar with the steps out of this book. Maybe some of you are, some of you aren't. Saved my life. The book saved my life. So, and my sobriety date is February 5th, 2006. So I haven't found it necessary to pick up a drink or a drug, any kind of mood or mind altering substance in pharmaceutical substance, right? No pills, plants, potions, since then. So, I just celebrated in February 19 years of continuous sobriety. I really take no credit for that. It's really the result of the people that I met and the God that they introduced me to and the God that I found that taught me how to live. So I prayed. Young asked me what my topic was going to be, and I had no idea, because if I just really, I really do pray, and my experience with these steps and this way of life and being sober is true. So I don't have to worry about what I say or pick a specific thing. I can just come from my experience and what actually happened to me. And I feel like that's, and what continues to happen. But I think there's a line in the big book that I've really been thinking about lately. And it's in the sex inventory portion of the book. Now they're referring to sex, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it because I realize that this is kind of how I've been living. And this is the line in this book is something that I really think about often. They're talking about how, and they're referring to the sex conduct, but they're really talking about how, we through working this program and meeting other people and coming into contact with this God that's solving all our problems, that removed the drink problem and the drug problem, and when we carve out this ideal of what we believe life should look like, and here's my ideal: I don't steal anymore because I believe that stealing's wrong. Taking something that belongs to somebody else is wrong. I don't lie anymore. If I do lie, I feel it. My consequence is swift and severe. As soon as I walk away from the person, I'm convicted. Like I probably should have told the truth. I'm not a saint, but I've changed. I've become softer and more open to honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. If I've acted selfish, if I've done something that hurt somebody else, I know it, right? And so there's a line in the book, and I hope I find it quickly because I don't want to waste anybody's time, but it talks about what should happen if we fall short. What if we fall short of the ideal, right? And what if we hold on, I'm sorry. What if we fall short of the chosen ideal? Does that mean we're going to drink? And it says that's not actually, some people say yes, but that's not actually the entire story, right? If we have an honest desire, if we're sorry for what we have done, and we have an honest desire to let God, it's page 70, thanks, Young. And we have an honest desire to let God take us to better things, we will believe that we have been forgiven, and we will have learned something. We will have learned a lesson. However, if we're not sorry, and our conduct continues to harm others, we're quite sure to drink. We're not theorizing here. This is actual fact from our experience, right? So the first 100 to ever recover from alcoholism using the 12-step model, right? I believe 100% everything they said. I believe in the statistics. I believe that they got recovered and stayed recovered, most of them, the majority of them. And I believe that I got recovered and stayed recovered for that reason, because I followed this. Rarely have we seen a person fail who's been thorough, right? But then when it comes to this piece, I think this is where, this is where I'm living right now. Because of course I'm going to fall short of the chosen ideal. I'm a human being, right? So this has a lot to do with like 6 and 7 and my nightly review. And I know this sounds like it might sound like a lot of gibberish, but if you're not doing any of that, you're not in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You can't really expect to receive anything except maybe temporary abstinence away from drinking and drugging. That's it. And if that's what you're looking for, again, that's what I love about Alcoholics Anonymous and CA. And it's an open door policy. You can come in and out as much as you like. You can take as much of a beating as you like. You can, that's what I love about it. It's this absolute freedom to just do whatever you want. Nobody's keeping score here. I was talking to a girl that I sponsor earlier, and she was like, well, then I'm going to, if I do that, then I'm going to have to give my 20 days back. And, it doesn't even really count because I didn't do it on purpose. And I'm like, who's keeping score here? Who's got the clipboard and the pen, and who's keeping score? The truth is nobody's keeping score. Like my recovery, my walking this path, my relationship with God is between me and God. Am I accountable to other people? Absolutely. If I said to somebody in my network or to my sponsor that I'm drinking, or that I'm sleeping with a married man, or that I'm cheating on my husband, or that I'm not paying my taxes, or that I lied to my job because I don't want to work as hard as they want me to work. These are all things that I used to do before I had this spiritual experience, where the God that I found has entered into my life and into my heart and into my mind in a way that is indeed miraculous. So there's a certain expectation from the people that I love and that love me, that I'm walking this path with, that I'm going to ask God to continue to keep me on a path that is pure and good. And not because I want to be pure and good, but what I've found is my humility in these areas, humble enough to take direction, not only from the people in my life, my sponsor, but from this God that I serve, right? The book tells me he's the director and I'm the agent. He's the father, I'm the child. There's a boss and I'm not it. There's a boss. And I came in here not wanting to be told what to do. But that got old real quick when I just kept drinking and I just kept going out and I just kept, snorting cocaine and spending all of my money and waking up on Monday morning wanting to kill myself. Over time, this idea that I didn't want anybody telling me what to do got real old real fast. I went from being defiant to saying, somebody tell me what to do. Somebody tell me what to do. Guide me. I'm willing to do anything, because long after the hangover passed, or the 16-hour crash where I slept and woke up and ate like 3 packs of oodles and noodles with like extra salt and butter. And I got like this crazy kind of sustenance back in my body. I'm in my favorite sweatpants and I'm living on my mom's couch where I'm feeling pseudo safe. I came to know that it was going to take me maybe just a couple more days before I was thinking that I was making a big deal out of nothing. And perhaps it's okay for me to have a glass of Pinot Grigio, even though it always ended up in an 8-ball. So I got to a point in my addiction where I was tired of the gerbil wheel. I just didn't know how to get off. So when I entered into Alcoholics Anonymous and found a woman armed with the facts, not the facts about me, they were armed with the facts about themselves. They knew how they ticked. They knew where they always ended up. They knew how they crawled out of the hole that they were in. That's what I needed. Nobody told me, they didn't tell me what I needed to do or what I must do for me. They told me what they did for them, right? And I said, okay, if I do that, will that happen for me too? Like, what if I do that? if I do that, will that happen for me too? And so they said yes. And that's why I need their guidance, because I'm still inexperienced. At the time I didn't know, still inexperienced at certainly at just making conscious contact with this God, at this fourth, fifth. And for me, the real God moment piece happened not only when I yelled at and said, God, I can't, you're right, you win, I can't do this anymore, the morning of February 5th. But I really felt it after a fifth step, after sitting alone and being quiet for an hour and taking a look at everything I had written, looking at the first 5 steps. I'm alcoholic, I'm addict, I can't manage my own life. I'm in a hopeless situation. I'm powerless. Something has to intervene, right? I'm looking at these steps and I'm looking at this pad of paper where this 4th column is full of all of the ways that I've been setting the ball rolling, right? But I thanked God for showing me this stuff. I thanked God that I had made it this far. I thank God that I was getting to know him better, that I was exchanging the drugs, the alcohol, these character defects. I was attempting to exchange these things for his power, right? Lack of power is my dilemma. So I'm kind of in that I call it the holy hour after my 5th step. I'm ready to make an exchange of my stuff, what I've always done in that 4th column, for God's power. And that means that common sense becomes uncommon sense. So that's why, now take it back to page 70. That's where I get the ideal from, right? It's depending on who you did your 5th step with. They'll show you like selfishness, self-centeredness, prejudice, greed, impatience. And then there's another column where they say the opposite. Like that's how it was for me, right? So instead of, if I was impatient, I wanted to be patient. If I was selfish, I wanted to be unselfish. If I was greedy, I wanted to be generous. If I was self-pityaholic, I wanted to be grateful. So we carve out an ideal, not just for my sex ideal, but in my life, And when I fall short from that ideal, that 10th step comes into play at the end of the day, either at the end of the day or immediately. And when I fall short of the ideal, it says, suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we're going to get drunk? Some people tell us so, but this is only a half truth. It depends on us and our motives. If we are sorry for what we have done and have an honest desire to let God take us to better things, to let God help me to not do this anymore, right? We will believe that we believe that we will have been forgiven and we will have learned our lesson. I will have learned my lesson. I can't tell you, I learned lessons with lying. I've humiliated myself by getting caught in lies, either at work or with my family or with other people. I mean, I got beaten into submission with this thing until finally I was like, my lies had lies and they had babies. And I got to a place where I was like, it's making my life unmanageable. I'm living in fear and anxiety. I'm afraid of getting caught for things. And it's stupid stuff. It's no longer, buying an 8-ball in Washington Heights. Now it's something else, like why I'm not showing up for a shift or whatever the issue is. Why I lie about I would lie about anything. So not saying that I don't still fall short of the ideal, but today I recognize that it's not what I said I wanted to be. It's not the ideal that with God's help I carved out. And I think just in my own experience, and I'm sharing my own experience with the women I've been sponsoring over the last 19 years and the women I roll with, the difference between the happy, joyous, and free folks and the people who are still working on their character defects is this paragraph, this submission to there is a right way to live. It's not subjective because it's different because it's me. I let that go in my 5th step. Well, it's different. You don't understand. I grew up in a violent household. My father used to hit me and my mother used to hit my mom. And, I said, we never had any money. And I let all of that go in the 4th step. So it's the same for everyone. And I find that the women that I sponsor who get with this part of the program, that that I'm still on a life and death errand, that I'm still walking this out one day at a time, but I'm willing to grow along spiritual lines. That's what the book says. The book is clear, and it says, don't be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints, but the point is we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. And I'm at that place where it doesn't matter how long you're sober, 19 minutes or 19 years. When I make a decision that I want to exchange the good for the bad for the good, I take that 7 step where I say, I'm willing that you should have all of it in your own way, in your own time. There's an impetus on me to watch for these things. That's what the book says. Watch for dishonesty, watch for selfishness, watch for this stuff. And when they pop up, go to God. Like those are the people who, in my opinion, those are the people who experience much of heaven and a lot of freedom. It may seem like all we do is this self-examination stuff, right? And it might seem heavy, but the name of this group is Unshakable Foundation for Life, which comes from the 12 and 12. And that sentence says, self-examination, prayer, and meditation make an unshakable foundation for life. Some people forget the self-examination part, and they say prayer and meditation, when combined, make an unshakable foundation for life. But that's not the sentence. The sentence is self-examination, prayer, and meditation make for an unshakable foundation for life. And I guess that's what's really been coming up for me the last couple of days, because I sponsor women and newer women and women who've been in and out, and we get these calluses on our body from going in the door and out the door and in the door and out the door and in the door and out the door, and it almost inevitably, without variation, comes down to what are you holding on to that you're not willing to have refined out of you, in this process or in your relationship with God, And then we get sicker, even if we're sober, even if we're clean, we begin to get sicker, because it says here, if we're not sorry and our conduct continues and we harm others, and almost always a lot of the stuff that I do harms somebody, even lying robs somebody of the truth, right? Like they make a decision based on something that I said that's not even real. So if I continue to harm others, mislead others, right, I'm quite sure to get drunk. We're not theorizing here. These are facts of our experience. And so that's kind of where I'm at today in my sobriety, in my recovery, in my walk with God, because that's what this is, really. For me, it's now I walk it out. On page 68, it tells me that I'm in the world to play the role that he assigns, which means that I got to start taking orders. And I know a lot of us just bristle with antipathy, like, taking orders, and my God's not a punishing God. There's no punishing God, but God is still God. And if I learned anything, there's a God that doesn't make too hard terms. But if I'm gonna continue to stay sober and have being clean and sober not be drudgery, it's different. It's different, like to be 19 years sober and love life and not think about alcohol, or to be 19 years clean and sober and wish I could drink. Not drinking because I know I'm going to die and wrap my car around a tree, or not doing any more cocaine because I'm afraid I might have a heart attack because the doctor said, and blah, 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 because I might die. That's not the same as somebody who doesn't ever want to do it again, doesn't think about it anymore. And even if I could, I wouldn't. I was at a meeting. My sponsor was at a meeting, and she said that the speaker there asked a question and said, how about if they came out with a pill tomorrow that we could take that would let us drink, how many people would take it? How many people would ask their doctor to write the script? And I got to be honest with you, I wouldn't. I never really liked alcohol. I didn't really enjoy the drugs too much. What I liked was the feeling that they gave me. And today I get that feeling from from God, from sponsoring women, from roller coasters and really great restaurants where the food is really good, from hanging out with my grandkids. I have 2 grandbabies, from going to church. I'm a musician, from singing, and from like, that's where I wouldn't go back if I could. And so I guess the question is, if you're saying, and it says it in the book too, science may one day come up with a way, but it hasn't done so yet, right? Does anybody remember that line? Science may one day do so, but it hasn't done so yet. And I wrote in my margin, like, if you're still praying secretly that you hope science comes out with something that you could take, which would make it okay to, to drink Johnny Walker and do an 8-ball, you're probably not recovered. Because that's not what we do here. And I would hate for anyone to get the wrong idea. We're not, there are certain people in the fellowship who are like holding on to their chair and just wishing their life was different. I don't know how many of those people have taken the steps, the 12 steps, and come face to face with a God who loves them and wants to give them the power to live. It says in We Agnostics, lack of power, that's our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live. And so the longer I'm away from drinking and sponsoring people and doing this deal, right? The more I realize that I need power for everything. That I need God's guidance, direction, and power to eat right. That I need God's direction and power to show up to work on time. I need God's direction and strength and power, not only to not drink and drug, but to watch my mouth and not hurt other people. Like, I'm at work and for no reason, there's a woman, I'm a massage therapist, and there's a woman on my table, and her body's in trouble, right? So, and it doesn't feel like she's drank any water in a really long time, and, lives a sedentary lifestyle. No judgment. It just is what it is. And I was tempted, even though I knew the answer was that she lives a sedentary lifestyle and doesn't drink any water, to ask her, like, do you drink enough water? Do you get enough movement? And there was a part of me that wanted to ask her that so she would feel bad. I'm being honest. Like, I wanted to ask her that so that she would admit, no, I don't. And then I could make her feel bad about how she's like that. I'm 19 years sober. Now, I didn't say it. I need God's power. Who intervened between my thought and my mouth and changed my heart in about 30 seconds to say, you're nobody's judge and jury, Judy. You're here to heal this woman, not to critique her. That's what I'm saying. I need God's guidance and judgment and power to do every single thing. Elsewhere in the 12 and 12, it talks about in the 3rd step that true independence means full dependence upon God. I'm freer following God and not worrying about what I have to do and where I have to go and how I have to say and what I have to do, but relying that the money will be there when I need it. The health will be there when I need it. And that if that medical test that I'm waiting on results for, comes back in a way that I don't want it, God will be there when I need it. But in the interim, my job is to be here with you. To be here with you. And there's a prayer in here on page 70 that says, we ask. Now it says about sex, but I do it in every area of my life. So it says, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. That's sobriety for me. That's the prayer. And this prayer is on page 70. We earnestly pray, we earnestly pray for the right ideal. So, I guess I'm just coming off of a couple of women who, had asked me to sponsor them. They have time, and I always ask some questions like, are you done? Have you made all of your amends? Like, if you owe people money, like, did you pay them back, or do you have a plan, like a schedule, a payback schedule? The answer is no. You can expect to receive no freedom. Have you made all of your other amends? Have you sat down and had those hard conversations? If not, you can expect to receive nothing. When you wake up in the morning, are you praying? Are you following the directions? Upon awakening, we consider our plans for the day, but before we begin, we ask God. And throughout the day, when we're irritable or agitated, we stop and we ask God. At the end of the day, we review our day and we watch and look for, where was I selfish or afraid or unkind? Now, I don't do this stuff perfectly, but I will say that when I do it, my life is so good that no matter what's going on, and I think that's the message that I have today, is that if it's been a few weeks for you, like I can go a couple of days sometimes and I fall asleep and I don't do my nightly review. My experience is I can get right back on it. God doesn't make too hard terms for those who seek him. I can get right back on it the very next day. And maybe what goes on my nightly review is I've been lazy about doing my nightly review, because ultimately it says we ask God for forgiveness, which is what it says here in this book. It's really about receiving strength, direction, guidance from God, from the God as you understand him, the God you find as a result of these steps. But if you haven't had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, then obviously we're on very thin ice, because I know for me, it doesn't take much. I need a power by which I can live. And I know that because I've tried my power. It's insufficient. I've tried my power on all kinds of stuff that I really wanted to do, and it's really insufficient. So I need a power greater than me to direct my life, to direct my thinking, to direct my life. And so that's me just getting current. Page 70, that page 70, it's about really being sorry. And if I'm not sorry, then I ask God to help me be willing to let go of some of these things, the self-righteous anger, the forgiveness that I'm not giving, that person that I'm not talking to, the quick amend, the mess that I haven't cleaned up. If I'm not willing to do that, I ask God and the book is clear too. We ask God until it comes. I don't ask God for 3 days and then forget about it. We ask God until it comes. And I got to tell you, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I qualify as a member of CA. I love this life. I love this life. I love my fellowship. I love my network. I love going to meetings. I love working the steps. I love sponsoring women. I've been doing it for 19 years. It is the foundation of my entire life. I drank the Kool-Aid. It's never done anything to harm me ever. I have a host of friends. I have friends in other countries. I have friends in other states within my country that I get to meet up with, like that I go to Florida, or I've been to New York, or I've been to places to meet with my friends that I met on Zoom, but also the women that I sponsor locally. I mean, we know people for 15 years here, 19 years. 20 years, 34 years. My husband's sober 40 years. It was like, oh yeah, I know. I've known Pat for 27 years. 27 years? Who knows people for 27 years? It's insane. We do. Alcoholics do. Alcoholics and drug addicts. We get together at a meeting. I've known the same person for 27 years. I was there when they had their kids. I was there when their kids went to college. I was there. You don't get this anywhere else. I mean, I have friends that I've known since high school. And I don't know what they're doing with their life. But the people in AA, I know everything. They take a sideways shit. I know about it. Oh, somebody might have she's got the hold up Mary in prayer because her colon's busted. Whatever. Who knows? I jest. But 27 years, 15 years, 19 years, we know people like that's, and we have a relationship that I can call somebody in Alcoholics Anonymous that I know for 19 years that I haven't talked to in 7 months and be like, hey, got a minute? And the answer is yeah. Or they could call me and be like, Judy, got a second? I can't wait to call them back. So we have found much of heaven. And we have been rocketed into the fourth dimension of existence of which we have never dreamed, but there is a price of admission. It's free to come here and you can hang out all you want, but there is a price of admission to the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension has a cover charge, y'all. And it's the 12 steps. It's laying down my life. I had to lay down my life to get a new one. They say it in a bunch of different ways here, we were reborn. It meant the destruction of selfishness, whatever you want to call it, whatever's more palatable for you. I found the God of my child. I got reacquainted with the God of my childhood through my 12-step process. So I use a very different language, a language found in a much older book. I use it often. A lot of the women that I hang with and the men that I hang with, we read from that book too, and this book. So I lay down my life. I traded it in. I traded in my sorrows. I traded in, and I've found that the suffering that I've done through laying this stuff down, I really didn't think having an affair with a married man was really that big of a deal, especially if he was unhappy in his marriage. I learned that was wrong here. I learned that I was harming his wife and his kids, even though I never met them. I didn't know that. And once I figured that out, once I was convicted of that, I asked God for the power to stop it. And I've just found in my own life, whenever I get hemmed up, whenever life starts feeling heavy, whenever I start hating on someone or feeling sorry for myself or building resentment, there's something I'm holding on to that God is asking me to relinquish that I'm ignoring. I'm ignoring it altogether. That I go into my morning prayer in the morning and I know what's up, and I'm not saying, I know that you really want me to give this up, but I'm having a hard time doing it. I need your help. I'm not willing. I'm not even having that conversation. I'm pretending the whole thing doesn't exist. That's a very dangerous place. I've done that. I've done that in my recovery, and it almost brought me to the drink or to wanting to really hurt myself in recovery. There was something that God was trying to get me to see, and I just kept showing up and doing an 11-step, praying the prayers, very rote, not bringing anything to God, not asking him to change me, just doing whatever I was doing and going to meetings. And there was a point in my recovery where it was really questionable. I don't ever want to go back there again. There's a saying in AA, let go or be dragged, and so I hope I brought a message of depth and weight and hopefully of hope. There's 8 minutes and 34 seconds left. I'll say that I got married in Alcoholics Anonymous to my husband. It'll be 7 years. He has 40 years and I have 19. We had a pretty rough trying to have a relationship in AA with another alcoholic is very, very hard. A lot of childhood stuff, we needed outside help, but we worked on it. We brought God. God is in the center of our marriage. The reason why I brought that up is because we have a dry AA household. We had 200 people at our wedding, and I would say about 85% of them are Alcoholics Anonymous members. We had a big backyard party and we played. We're in a band and we played our own. I couldn't ask. If I would have gotten what I asked God for in the very beginning of recovery, I would have sold myself short. And I know that that's a story in the book. God knows God has a plan for every single person's life. No one shows up to these meetings and on these squares by accident. If you're here, whether you're clean or not, or sober or not, just by being here today and listening to the sound of my voice, you will never be the same again. You'll never be the same again. Getting drunk, getting high will never be the same again. It's over for you. The fact that you even came here made it over for you. You can continue to do it, but it's never going to be the same. It's the beginning of the end of your old life. Whether you acknowledge that or not, it's the beginning of the end of the old life. So surrender, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Get with somebody and go through this book and get the life beyond your wildest dreams, and ride this rocket ship, and then get recovered and get up off your ass and go tell everybody the good news that we do recover. We don't die in a puddle of our own piss and vomit. We used to. We don't ever have to do that again. And so I love my life. I love Alcoholics Anonymous and any 12-step fellowship. You're all my brothers and sisters. And if you're miserable, you're missing something. If you're miserable, it's you, boo. It's not the program. It's not your childhood. It's not what happened to you. It's you. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Tanya. My name's Danny and I'm an addict. And Judy, thank you so much. Absolutely loved it. You had us hooked all the way through. Yeah, amazing message. My question for you is, you talked a lot about the sex inventory, and I know some people have used the sex inventory not just for intimate, like sexual relationships, but just for general relationships with other people. So my question is, have you done that? And if so, what's your experience of it? Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. I actually have done that. What I've done is we have this guy Cameron from I believe he's from Canada. I think the CA guy. He did the sponsorship guide. And that last inventory that's supposed to be the sex inventory is just called harms done others, including sex. So I put them all together, and because it's basically the same thing, so yeah, that's been my experience with it, and that's what I use a lot of times with other when I sponsor women, because it doesn't really the second column is all bullshit anyway, right? We're trying to. The only person who really cares about that second column is you. We're going to find out that that's all a lie anyhow. So, so yeah, I combine them. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And Young, come on in.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Hi, everyone. My name's Young, a recovered addict. Thank you so much, Judy. It's good to see you. Always good to hear you. Always feel your energy and your spirit. My question, it keeps coming up this week, and I've got my own answer, but I just was interested to hear yours, is something from We Agnostics, and it says, to be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis of life are not always easy alternatives to face. Why do you think that is? Thank you, Judy.
Well, they're both difficult. And I think that's why to be doomed to an alcoholic, to be doomed to an alcoholic life, or to accept spiritual, that's why I think it's not always there. It's hard to face because they're both really difficult, but there is no door number 3. So those are my only choices. I think that's how it was explained to me. There is no other option. Either I'm going to be doomed to an alcoholic death and try to blot out the misery, or I'm going to accept spiritual help. My defense must come from a higher power. It was proven with Roland Hazard and all the ones in the very, very beginning. So it's not easy alternatives to face because I really want a door number 3. I think that's what makes it hard. But once I accepted that there is no door number 3, it was a no-brainer. So that was my answer.
That's great. Thank you, Young, for your question. And Michael, come in next, please.
Hi, thank you. Michael, recovered addict. Thank you very much for your share, Judy. It was absolutely wonderful. I picked up a couple of times you were saying, if you're not feeling like the spiritual awakening and such, if you're not feeling the utter freedom from self, you're missing something in your program. I'd like to say I experienced something similar to that over, on reflection, would have been a couple of weeks. And it didn't really matter what I was doing. I couldn't identify it. You know, it almost felt like until God was ready to reveal it, I just had to sit in that. So my question really is if you feel like you're missing something, do you have any practices that can help raise whatever it is you're missing to the surface quicker? Or do you just, have to sit in it sometimes and wait patiently for God to reveal the truth? And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much for that question. And I really appreciate, that you heard that I said that, because I didn't mean to come off. There are peaks and valleys in my recovery. So if I came off to say, if you're recovered and you're miserable with your sobriety, then it's you. That's the point that I was trying to make, because I have most people who accept this way of life and have gone through the 12 steps are happier now than they were then. That's not to say that I don't have periods of dry periods where I feel disconnected, and so my experience has been, when I'm feeling that way, that I do what I know to do, which means that I show up to pray anyway. But sometimes it does feel like God reveals whatever God reveals when he's ready. Of course, absolutely, that's true. And if I gave the impression otherwise, that's not what I meant. I think the point I was trying to drive home was that if you're in the 12-step fellowship and you're miserable 9 out of 10 times, it's you. Miserable is not dry periods, like these spiritually dry periods where, and a lot of times it's my addiction to excitement, or my addiction to how God makes me feel when I'm getting butterflies on my windshield and stuff. I have to detach. That's been my experience. A lot of times I'm attached to the way that I feel, or the way that I'm experiencing or seeking to experience God. And God tries to pull me away from those attachments too. That's been my experience. But most times it's just, it ebbs and flows. It's like everything else in life. So I hope I answered your question. A lot of times I just sit quietly and do what I know to do and just move my feet, and the sun comes out, but I make sure that I look at that and say, have I made all my amends? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And then when I've done all that I can do, sometimes you just stand and more will be revealed. So thanks.
Thank you for your question. And next in we have Stephen, please.
Hi everyone, Stephen, recovered alcoholic. Thank you, Tanya, and everyone for service, and thank you very much, Judy, for your chair. I really enjoyed it. I'm just over 8 months in, sober, and being rocketed into the fourth dimension still keeps getting at me. I'm still, I know that the obsession has been lifted from me for drinking. It's completely gone. It's disappeared. It's away. But on the flip side of this, I was diagnosed with clinical depression in 1990. It's now 2025, and yet I've not laughed so much today in my life. Now I keep thinking, am I being rocketed, or am I on a slow flight? I mean, I'm in budget class. I don't really know what it is, so I'm just sort of want to ask you, what is this fourth dimension that I keep reading in the big book? Am I in it? Am I gonna get in it? I don't really know. So that's my question. Yeah.
So I think I heard you say, and you can nod your head yes or no, but I think I heard you say you were diagnosed with clinical depression and you haven't laughed as much as you laugh now. Is that what you just said? You're laughing. Where did you go? Oh no. That you're experiencing laughter, and is that the fourth dimension? That's part of it. I'm looking for you. I lost you, but I wanted to watch your head move. But Stephen, right? There you are in the red shirt. Okay. But you're 8 months in. Just nod yes or no. Have you completed all 12 steps? Yeah, great. Are you sponsoring anybody? You are. Great. And you're taking them through the 12 steps? Because that's when it gets good. That's when it really gets good. So you're probably in it. The rocketed into the fourth dimension is a full night's sleep. It's laughter comes easy. I'm not always thinking about myself. It's a new freedom and a new happiness. I'm not, yeah. So that's part of it. That's part of it. But the majority of the fourth dimension rocket stuff comes from me in service and sponsoring other people. They say you got to give it away to keep it. I say you got to give it away to really get it. You start sponsoring people, you watch the light come on, you're making their amends and their life is getting good. And it's mind blowing and amazing. That's been my experience. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen, for your question. We're reducing the question time to 2 minutes now. So can we have Sarah in, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, I'm an addict. Thanks to everybody doing service. Judy, thank you so much for your share. It was brilliant. I got so much from it. My question for you, I've had a really busy couple of weeks and I'm absolutely blessed. It's all brilliant things. But when I'm really busy, it tends to be when I sort of struggle. I start to feel that agitation. I think, I've got so much to do. How am I going to fit everything in? I wonder if you've got a particular practice or something in particular that you do when those sort of feelings of agitation or irritation come over you. Thank you.
Great question. What I do is I feel the agitation and the aggravation and the overwhelmedness, like I can't possibly get everything done, and I start getting irritated. And then I have a great sponsor, and I'll call my sponsor and we'll talk about how a lot of times I create my own misery. Am I saying yes to all of these wonderful things because I want to actually do it and because I have time, or am I sometimes no is a complete sentence? Sometimes I overcommit myself out of ego. And sometimes I have to just voice those concerns and that irritability to somebody else, ask God to remove it. And then I got to sit and I've got to say, with God's help, I carve out a time and I put my phone aside and I say, maybe I have to cancel some things, but mostly it's about going someplace and sitting quiet and really checking in with God. And it's difficult to do because there's 1,000,001 things that I should be doing. You know what I mean? And I think I don't have time. But sometimes I find when I cancel one thing to make time for quiet time, either with me and God or a good long cuppa with my sponsor and really getting some nurturing, it fills me up. And I can go back at it again. So I stop and I talk to my sponsor about it.
That's great. Thank you for your question, Sarah. And Jackie, you're in next, please.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm a recovered alcoholic addict. Judy, that was depth and weight. And I had so much written down, but because the time is short, I had 15 years. I'm from Jersey. I live in North Carolina right now, of sobriety. I went to the AA therapy groups in New Jersey that were not big book studies. I was checking boxes. And eventually I drank, but I came back in, I was surrendered, and I got a sponsor who was armed with the facts about himself and took me through that big book sponsorship. And I get choked up. It has not lost its power, but I have God in the middle of my life and rocketed into the fourth dimension. And I sponsor people. My biggest challenge is women that have had time are now coming to me, and I see me in them, and they're the challenging ones because I want to be like, they're doing, I did my 90 meetings and like those are not the things, and I'm trying to peg them down to take them through the work the way I was taken through. And it's always like, that's more challenging than someone new into this program for me. And, we have to get rid of our old ideas and all that. And like, if you have any tips on that, because it's that ego doesn't want to get out of first place, and that was me, know it all. and it almost killed me. So do you have any
The
tips?
ego, yeah, the ego grows back, and people with time, that just the pain has to get great enough. I don't chase anybody down. I don't follow anybody around. I say, call me when you're ready to do step work, and you can make time in your schedule. If they don't, then they don't. And like, I know this sounds harsh, but maybe they have to lose some more teeth. You know, like maybe they have to drink more. They might not be done. So that's where I'm at. Sorry. It's true.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And Andrew, you're last. Come on in.
Thanks, Tanya, and everyone that puts this meeting on. I'm Andrew, a recovered drug addict. Thank you so much, Judy, especially for giving me a whole new way of reading that paragraph from page 70. And you talked about falling short. Do you think when we fall short and perhaps we're not aware of it or perhaps not willing to look at it, that God allows us to practice our character defects sometimes until they become so painful that we have to learn our lesson and face them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the same for every one of us, but I know I think part of that thing that we say a lot here, God as you understand him, really means God shows up to you in a way that you understand that it's God. And so for some people, I believe that's true, that they let them exercise their character defects. In the 7th step, in the 12 and 12, it says we needed a new perspective. And the way that we gain a new perspective is by repeated humiliations and the final crushing of our self-sufficiency. So a lot of that is true. What you just said is allow me to practice. If I'm not aware of it, it's very different. But when I'm convicted about it and I know that I should do something about it and I don't do something about it, it gets really, really painful. It gets really, really painful in sobriety. And I'm going to do one of two things. Either I'm going to seek relief or I'm going to surrender whatever that is when the pain gets great enough. So, but I do believe that's true. And you get caught in enough lies over and over and over again, and you're embarrassed and it starts causing you trouble. Then we're willing to say, God, please take this from me. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever you want. So, yeah. That I think it's different for I think God, we are all his children, and my mother didn't treat me, my brother, and my sister exactly the same. Neither did my dad. And I think he's so specific that, there's some rules of thumb, but ultimately he works very specific with his kids in a very specific fingerprinted kind of way.